Got the 4AOD transmission ready, filling up the torque converter, slowly putting all the suspension back together, doing some wiring prep, getting everything ready so I can hopefully try and hide everything as much as possible. I have to figure out the coil cables, that way I can relocate those. Those will be tucked in the back of the engine. Same thing with the main connector for the engine harness portion. Get that ran through the firewall, and then mocked up the booster and master, but cast iron oxidizes very quickly, so rip that out, clean it, dip it in some rust remover, and then get that all painted. Paint the booster, everything has a fresh coat on it. Start putting the weather stripping all around. And then right now, engine supported, still has to get kind of angled a little bit back, give it around 3 degrees of rake to the back, but right now I can move it a little bit because right now I'm running into an issue where the fan touches the water pump, but once the transmission gets bolted on, that should kick the engine down a little bit. Worst case scenario, I just gotta cut this little bend here, get this to come down more back, and then I still got room in the bottom so I can tuck it down for any hood clearance issues I might have. Waiting on some new dust covers for the ball joints. Suspension's kind of almost all buttoned up. Still got to install the rack and pinion, got to clean that up. Try and route the lines for the AC. Kind of thinking once this guy will kind of be, this guy will kind of end up being like this. So kind of at the 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock with fittings kind of set. So I'm thinking they'll run this way, underneath the manifold to the back, along the firewall, and then to the bulkhead where the heater core hoses are. Back there I'm going to put the 4-way bulkhead that goes to the vintage AC box, and that should hide everything pretty good. That manifold kind of covers everything on top. And then same thing with the power steering lines. Pump's gonna be down there, right here. So the rack and pinion bolts down there, and then I gotta get my lines right up to it. Both it'll work out though, because both of them can run straight to it. The fun part's gonna be getting the steering all set up, because got like 2 angles to it, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. And then run all my brake lines from this guy straight down through the cross member to the other side, and then straight back on the driver's side to get to the individual calipers on the rear axle. So got new lines for all of that. Top radiator hose will be pretty simple. It's pretty much just 2 90s, so it comes straight out, up and over down. But the bottom one comes out down there, but it has to hook up on this side. So I might have to hook 2 hoses together and get this guy to make a sharp 90 straight in front of the pump. Oh, sorry, not the pump, the crank pulley. And then it can go up and up. Make my new wires. Try and keep everything clean and linear, so that these guys can all come through here, straight down. And I'll see if I make some brackets, or if I can find some, to use these 3 valve cover bolts to hold the wires, so everything's clean, away, no hanging wires, nothing. What else? My fuel lines, got my return, my feed and my return, so I got to run these guys. Pretty much, this one's easy. This one kind of has a bend to it, so I'll see if I just run it. If it bends enough without kinking nothing, well, I can run it straight down here and then try and run it along the engine down to the frame and then straight back. If I can get low enough away from the headers, that's the goal. If not, either way, I'll sleeve the lines there so that there's no heat issues with it. And then right here is what I was saying about the heater hoses, and the AC lines will go in here. Battery used to go in this little cubby, but that's going bye-bye because the manifold, this guy right here, has a nice bend to it, so if you can imagine, it comes out this way. So I'll put a pipe, comes in here, box this in to house the filter, and they'll get fresh air to these little vents here. Kind of use as much as the original design as possible. Once I get that kind of squared away and get some brake lines and fuel lines ran to the back, and the transmission right now will be temporarily supported with a jack, just so I can get the angle right, get everything leveled out, center it up, and then I'm hoping I can use the original mount, but if not, easy enough to make a new one. Get that locked into place, see what I gotta do to get the original floor shifter to work. If I can get that to work, that'll be a lot nicer. And I just got a hole in there, pull that guy out, see how much clearance I have so I can get that little rod to work again. Just a bunch of boxes in here. Clean up everything. Still got to paint the inner doors. They'll be the same color as the dash. Kind of like it's a charcoal metallic gray. Got a dyno mat everything all the way to the back. Dyno mat the top, and then put the new header in, the headliner. Get the carpet back in. Once the seat starts going in, it'll take shape. But before I can do that, and I get the engine kind of squared away, and I know where some of the connectors will be, I can start running the wires for the new harness. And I'm thinking the fuse box I'll actually just mount on the passenger side behind the glove box, kind of make a little cubby in the corner, make it a lot easier to access like the newer cars. I also got to mock up the AC condenser, see if I have plenty of room there. The radiator has its own tranny cooler built into it, so no issues there. Kind of limited as far as space here. Once I get that there and get the accumulator mounted, get some lines ran, should be pretty good. Slowly come together. From a rust bucket to, well, something presentable. Currently no, just because it's a mess. Collects dust very, very quickly. So, almost there. But that's the 65's current status. Slowly coming together. Parts coming in every day. And then, yeah. And then as far as this C10, this one's almost there. Got the fans in, the radiators in. I gotta make some mounts. I made these just to hold the shroud, and then I gotta tie this plate into the original radiator mounts. So I'll probably cut this here so I can weld it onto that guy, and then I can use the original bolts. I already have some rubber underneath this. That way it's not steel on aluminum. You never want that. Same thing with this side. The bottom is already mounted with the lower rubber mounts, so that's good. I still gotta remove the old fuel pump and get a block off plate for that. Take out the pin from the inside. Get that all sealed up again. I got new wires coming in. Cut them to length. Get everything same thing as the Mustang. Tucked away. Keep everything kind of linear. Same thing with the coolant hoses. Finding those right now so I can get the best bends out of them so everything looks smooth. So this one will come at a 90 straight up over, starts bending kind of around here in the valve cover at a 45, and then another bend straight in. I gotta double check the valves because this engine was built 3 years ago, but they never ran it, they never put oil in it, so I'm hoping it runs when I fire it up the first time. I have a lot of engine safety pretty much to go through first. Adjust the valves, prime it by hand. Probably gonna rip that thermostat out just so I can make sure there's no air pockets in it when I first break it in. I'm not trying to have it overheat. And then wires are temporarily a mess, but they're going to where they need to right now, because when they brought it to me, too many people had already touched the electrical, so I had a headache already. So cut everything out, running my own stuff so I know what's what. And then the Holley carburetor is on. Got to do the connectors. Connectors are going in through the firewall. Got to get a rubber grommet for that. Fuel gauge, fuel pressure regulators in. Then the fuel line kind of just has a 45 union braided line, then comes straight into the back of the carburetor. And I got to run the return on the other side so I can go back to the fuel tank. It's got a fuel cell in the back now. I have to make right now it's got no exhaust on it, but I need to get an O2 mounted to it so that when I run it, the computer sees it, because this carb's gonna want to self-tune. So I gotta do that. I gotta run for now, because he doesn't know what exhaust he's gonna run. Just to break it in, I'm gonna run 2 feet of 3-inch piping on either side for now, just so it's not too crazy at the headers. And then block off the heater hoses that aren't needed, run my bypass so it can still flow through the heads back into the water pump. Check for any leaks, break it in. Once that's all good, I can run the wires how it's supposed to. Same thing for the fans controller for the duals. I'll run the wiring in here and then extend the wires that I need so they can go into the cab, so that all the relays and fuses and everything that it needs will be tucked up behind the dash, and get all the original gauges working like normal, because it came on a tow truck, but it'll leave under its own power, so that'll be nice. Still got some boxes of parts back here, but back here is where he has this filler neck. Well, not even a filler neck, it's just a fill port in the back of the bed. But it'll be nice. I gotta go through the suspension before I can leave, because they decided to touch everything, which means I have to go and touch everything and make sure it's all tight and nothing will fall off when he drives home. So that'll be fun. But yeah, slowly come together, just one day at a time. Alrighty, well, thanks for watching.